Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the world of Bitcoin, taking a look at the most recent price action, what's been going on, what we think is likely to happen next, and all that wonderful stuff. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button, I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out, linked in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. So why not go ahead and check it out? Let's jump right down into this one though, right? So we're going to be checking out Bitcoin here on the hourly chart. We obviously have Bitcoin with smart money concepts and Elliott wave theory. So what we'll do is we'll start things off with the Elliott wave theory side of things. And here we can see that we are still looking for this progression upwards. So following on from yesterday's video, we can see here, in fact, actually, if I bring up, is it this one? Yeah, this one here. So we're talking about this pump kind of coming. And what I mean by pump is essentially this move to the upside. Okay, so the thumbnails are a little bit, exaggerated for YouTube's algorithm and stuff like that. But here we can kind of see that we're talking about 28,237 to 28,647.60, right? So there's this approximate area just here. You can kind of see it's a three-wave structure. This is what we're talking about in yesterday's video. Now, obviously, this kind of slow grind that we've had to the side here, and we can see that there's some interesting kind of structures emerging here, looking to take us into probably the lower side of this box. So if we try to dive into this, we can kind of see just in here we have this really volatile diagonal structure by the looks of it, and it looks to me like we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this, and it's really quite an extreme diagonal. And then we correct down, and then we start to see this move here, and this one also looks to me like we go 1, 2, I think so far 3, 4, up for 5. Then we've got to have a correction down. Now, one of the things that we need to do is we need to stay above this area of 27,984. And the reason for that is we can start wrapping this up as a 1, 2, 3, down here for 4, but we shouldn't cross this one. It would create an invalidation, and then we come up into our box here. So I'm not thinking that we're going to be touching the higher side of this. I think we're going to just touch into the lower side of this range, and then I think we're going to start to see that next 5-wave move to the downside, which will tie us in nicely with this 5-wave structure coming down here. Okay, so now since it is the weekend, I would expect things to be really slow, nothing much major going on, but essentially I'm not looking for the low down here at 27,200 to get broken at this stage. It can, of course, but we'll see how that kind of goes as we start to correct down. But I think the next kind of moves here, they do have to see some volatility just up here as we finish off this kind of little mini 5-wave structure, then down into wave 4, probably find support on the 200 EMA, and then up into that final 5th wave movement. Okay, that should take us into this yellow box area, which will then see us moving down. Now, the move to the downside can be a couple of different things. It can just be a giant A, B, C, or in fact, it can be a start of something really big impulsive, which is 1, 2, 3, which would have to be significantly lower. Like we'd have to lose that low and come down pretty significantly like this. Okay, so caution here because it can be a couple of different things on a slightly bigger scale. But for now, I think on the hourly chart and for the weekend ahead, all we really need to do is focus in on this little mini 5-wave structure before reversal. So reversal is due, just not yet in my opinion. And in case we can still push up a little bit higher as well. We can of course get extensions, so don't be too surprised if that 5th wave does get an extension and do something like that. We have got momentum on our daily and 8-hour charts, but again, we'll review that as time progresses. Okay, so from an Elliott wave theory point of view, it looks reasonably positive for a little bit of a push to the upside. Smart money concepts kind of is the same. So we can see here that we have got a mini, I'm not sure if you can actually see that. Let me see if I can make this a little bit clearer. Probably not. Down here, there's this little green dash. I'm not sure you can see that on the screen very well, but this is a change of characterization, basically going from bearish to bullish. So that since we had this break up here, we can kind of see that change of character. So we're looking to come down, possibly push up. Again, these can be false flags from time to time, so I'm not going to read terribly too much into it. Positively though, we are above the EMAs, the 50 and the 100, and we are above equilibrium, but we are, as you can kind of see right in here, this red order block right here. So there's a lot of selling pressure where we are right now. Okay, so expect some volatility. We know what we're creating validations from an Elliott-Wave theory point of view, and we do know, we're up against these resistances here. If I zoom out, you can see there's a lot of red on here, so lots of selling pressure, whereas there's very limited amount of buying pressure. So running out of momentum for the bulls, it would appear. Obviously, it's too soon to really know for certain. Now, we do have a strong low. This is indicating to us that we're not likely to break this low anytime soon, and we do have a weak high, indicating that there is still potential for a break upwards here. And with that being said, though, the resistances are true, so we'd have to try to get through those the best you can before we can really go ahead and think about breaking upwards. I look at this slightly differently than what's being labeled here on the Smart Money Concepts by 𝗕𝗓𝗪, and I look at this as in we've had multiple tests on this higher range. We've only tested down here once. That to me tells me that this is actually a strong high, as in we're not able to push through it, and this is actually a weak low. But again, the data is the data, and we'll see how that kind of plays out. So ultimately here for Bitcoin, I am looking at coming down into this low range at some point in the future, and I do think that this is going to hold for now, okay? Because I'm not expecting it to kind of get lost. That's the 27,200. But with that being said, if we do break this, we could start to see a real big impulsive movement to the downside. So it's important for Bitcoin bulls to want to hold 27,200. Ultimately, though, by the looks of the 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 side of things, the selling pressure is quite intense. So be a little bit cautious here as to thinking about how high things can push upwards here. So ultimately, from an Elliott-Wave theory point of view, it looks like we are still got a little bit of progression to the upside, not much, but we should tap in just above probably 28,237, and we are looking to keep above the 27,200 but create a 5-wave structured move to the downside. From Smart Money Concepts, we are looking more bullish, right? It doesn't give us that kind of outlook to think that things are going to reverse down. Actually, looking at this, it gives us a lot of positivity to think that price is actually going to be pushing up significantly higher. So there is a little bit of a conflict in there. But looking at how we've consolidated down here, I would be a little bit concerned. We can also acknowledge that we did have this trend line to the downside that recently got broken to the upside, but it hasn't had a break up of significance. And what I mean by that is it hasn't exactly had a real big like institutional candle take us out of here and really move us up higher. Instead, it found upper resistance very, very quickly. So although it broke out of the trend lines, out of this kind of coiling up here, you can argue that this could have been a fake out. A, B, C, D, no, it would have to be A, B, C, D. We haven't even got an E here. So looking at it, it doesn't give me that kind of positivity around it. So I think ultimately, taking a look at it from this kind of lens, I would say that, yeah, although we have broken out of that trend line and we are above those EMAs, even I don't agree that the 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 Smart Money Concepts is giving us a true representation of what's going to occur here on the hourly chart. But time will tell what will win, Smart Money Concepts or Elliott-Wave theory. We'll be able to find out soon. Now, ultimately, from our stochastic RSI positioning, we can see that if we use the close positions here on the RSI, that we're overbought on the hourly, overbought on the weekly, oversold on the daily. We're not oversold on the 8-hour like we are when we use the average positions. Down here, you can see that it's oversold. So there's definitely progression happening here that we need to be a little bit cautious on. But for the most part, I'm expecting us to kind of move down. The 4-hour stochastic RSI has moved up quite a bit. We'll check that out on the 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 side as well, just to see whether or not there's anything major going on here. Again, weak high, and the lows all the way down here. Strong low, and that comes in down at 19,500, right? So on this 4-hour chart, you've got this huge range, and we haven't come down to equilibrium yet. So if we look at this, we can kind of see ourselves failing quite miserably here, actually. And there's a couple of things that we need to be aware of. Let me actually repurpose this, right? So if I go ahead and draw this on, we are doing ourselves a bit of a disservice here, because what we can find ourselves doing is going into higher highs, higher lows. And these do have a tendency to unfortunately break on down. Okay, so although it's possible to push up a little bit higher here, we can see that we are really struggling. Now, you might think of this as bullish because you're finding buying support here and then buying support here and buying support and so forth. But unfortunately, they do have a tendency to break on down. And we can show you this, we can depict this quite easily by going over to a slightly macro view. Going over into, in fact, actually, I can do it on this one here. If I go take this to the daily, because we talk about this all the time, right? And when we have these higher highs, higher lows, these movements that are tilting upwards, there's always a tendency to break. I say always, there's a tendency to break on down, right? And we can see these time and time again in this bear market. Now, in a bullish market, they tilt downwards. And when they tilt downwards, you're going into lower lows and lower highs. And these have a tendency to break upwards. So lower lows, lower highs up, and higher highs, higher lows break down. Okay, so there's always this misconception about, oh, look, we're super bullish, we're going into higher highs, higher lows. And that just gets me worried, because essentially that's going to be a recipe for a break to the downside. And so when I take a look at this, and I'm looking at it on Smart Money Concepts on the 4 hour, we can see that we're progressing up to the overbought area. We've left all these fair value gaps down here, all the way down towards 20K. Equilibrium is right in there, and we haven't tested any of these things yet, whilst simultaneously going into higher highs, higher lows. These to me tell me that we have to be thinking of a bearish situation. Now, we have had a change of characterization here that is bullish, okay? But like I always tend to say, when we have these change of characterizations, like this one here, or even this one here, there's a tendency to actually pull back before you actually rally back up again. So I still think that this could be a false flag in the same way that we had this false flag just over here. Okay, they can happen from time to time, but ultimately looking at it, I think there's a progression to at least come down to the equilibrium area, which would make us lose the 50 and 200 EMAs on the 4 hour chart. So yeah, I'm looking at this through a bearish lens, admittedly. The 8 hour chart actually looks slightly better. We could potentially push up a little bit more there, but we'll see how that kind of goes. We do have a bullish tendency on the 4 hour chart, but you can start to see here, the higher these timeframes go, that the amount of fair value gaps that are left behind, and they need to be filled out, in my opinion. So coming back down into our hourly, we get a good idea as to kind of what is going on here. And my concerns are that essentially we will be looking at some downside. Trying to time that's going to be difficult, so we'll ride it on the hourly chart, see how things kind of go, and find out what the structures and what those structures mean. I'm going to leave this video right there though, guys. If you have found it useful and informative, smash that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Until the next one though, guys, have a fantastic day.
We are not financial advisors, and none of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to lose your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.